What's up, YouTubers? PokeJediTrek's here. So it is finally October, and in the spirit of Halloween, I have a fantastic cooking video for you. Now, what I mean by in the spirit of Halloween is, even though it's not a good idea to hand this out to trick-or-treaters on Halloween night, but if you still want to be able to get together on Halloween night for a little social gathering and stuff like that, I actually have the perfect dessert for if you ever want to have those types of gatherings. Now, please keep in mind that it's not candy or anything like that, but rather it's a baked good commonly associated in the autumn. They're called iced pumpkin cookies. And they are pretty complex to make, but if you watch the video till the end, you'll know how to make them. And anyway, let's go over what we need. So iced pumpkin cookies call for a lot of ingredients. Like, you're really going to have to thoroughly check to make sure that you have them. But you're going to need three types of sugar: powdered, cane, and brown sugars. You'll also need eggs, milk, ground nutmeg, cloves, and cinnamon. You also need vanilla extract, flour, pumpkin puree, baking powder and baking soda, and you'll need butter. So let's get started. First things first, you're going to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So first things first, you're going to mix 1 stick of your softened butter, and then what you're going to do is you're going to add 3/4 cup of your white sugar. You know, that's basically an alternative term for cane sugar, but white sugar. You're also going to need 3/4 cup of your brown sugar as well, and make sure that it's packed too. Then you're going to combine everything like so. Now you're going to add an entire can of pure pumpkin puree, which is basically your canned pumpkin. I forgot to tape it, but I did add 1 egg to the mix. Yeah, I forgot to tape it. Then you're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then you're gonna mix everything until it's all thoroughly blended. Next, you're going to use a separate mixing bowl, and you're going to use a separate one for mixing all the dry ingredients. Dry ingredients being 2.5 cups of flour. Let's see, half. A whole 1.5, 2 wholes, 2.5. Here's a teaspoon of baking powder. Then here's a teaspoon of baking soda. Now and then you also need 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. It's 1 whole, 1.5, 2 wholes. Now you're going to need a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves and a 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Then you're gonna mix your dry ingredients together, like so. Now, you're gonna whisk together. Now, if you don't have any whisks or forks, you can alternatively use knives for mixing, just so you know. Then you're gonna add the dry ingredients to the wet. And then you're going to stir everything up, like so. Rat, I think this mixing bowl is too small. So I had to transfer the contents to the other mixing bowl that I used because this mixing bowl I was using is a little too small. So anyway, heck, I might as well just use both knives. Or something like that. We have everything all mixed together. You're going to roll your cookie dough up into little balls. Then you're going to take your baking sheet and you're going to put these cookies in the oven. And then you're going to let them bake for 10 minutes. So while your cookies are baking, I'm going to show you how to make the powdered sugar. And this is basically the generalized idea of icing for cookies and cakes. So you need 3 cups of powdered sugar. Wow, I was not expecting it. It was the last of the powdered sugar in this package. So next you're gonna melt. So you're gonna melt 1 stick of butter in a saucepan and you're gonna melt 1 whole stick of butter in a saucepan on medium to low heat until the butter is foamy and a melted brown. All right, our first batch of cookies is done, and I'm going to pull them out of the oven. And I'm going to and this is important when you're baking cookies, is if they seem pretty soft, that's normal, because what you're essentially doing is you're giving the cookies a little time to harden up before being placed on a cookie, before they can be placed on the cooling rack. So, yeah. And here's batch number 2. Okay, the butter appears to be nearly melted and stuff, so and it's coming along fairly foamy, so just give it a little more time. Alright, the stovetop butter has been melted in our saucepan, so you're gonna pour. So now you're gonna pour this into the mixing bowl with the powdered sugar. As you can see, I had to transfer the contents because the bowl I was using was too small. So anyway, you're gonna pour your butter into the mixing bowl with the powdered sugar. Then you're gonna add a 1/4 cup of milk. And then you're gonna add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. That's 1, 1 1/2, 2 teaspoons. And then you're going to stir everything together. So that appears to be thick enough. Now you're going to set this aside and let it sit until the time comes when needed. So now that these cookies have had enough time to cool, you're going to take a metal spatula, and then you're going to transfer the remaining cookie, and then you're going to transfer the cookies that you cooled onto a cooling rack. And then you're going to let these cookies cool for the remaining time that they're on the rack. And just make sure that they're cool enough, because you don't want to ice. Because basically, when you don't want to ice cookies or cakes, when your baked goods are too hot. Because if you attempt to ice your baked goods, your baked sweets, without letting them cool, the icing will melt. So be careful. All right, so these 6 cookies that I've transferred onto a plate have been completely cooled. And then you're gonna take a little scoop of your icing, and you're gonna set it. And then you're gonna ice your cookies like so. Go. Should be a trick. All right, so the icing on these cookies are completely well done. Now I'm gonna sample one, see how it turned out. They're the bomb. Even though the icing. Yeah, when you're don't forget, when you're icing your baked goods, you got to make sure that the goods themselves are cooled well enough, and make sure your icing sits after you apply it. So anyway, that's how to make iced pumpkin cookies. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time.